welcome back to the Matthew Schreiner Podcast, and this is the 100th episode special. So we've got in mind just some kind of looking back on this channel and its history. So this is the 100th episode of the Matthew Schreiner Podcast. I did a retrospective a while back on my other channel, The Atari Guy, where I discussed in depth my kind of love for technology, but also somewhat my history on YouTube. Whereas here, I'm only concerned with talking about my history here on this, the Matthew Schreiner Podcast. Which, if you want to see some more about that, I'll leave a link to the video on the Atari Guy, where I do talk about technology and YouTube. But this here, we're going to look at the history of the Matthew Schreiner Podcast, going all the way back to the first video on this channel, and looking at some of the episodes of the Matthew Schreiner Podcast. Hello, my name is Matthew Schreiner, and I'm a Catholic, and I'm here to give a message to all Catholics. So this first video from the Matthew Schreiner Podcast, which is actually not from the podcast, so I apologize, but the first episode on this channel is originally a kind of video I wrote. I had seen some Catholic videos online, and I think one of the first people I really watched who did Catholic content was Father Casey Cole, and so from this I kind of had the inspiration to do my own Catholic content, and so this was my first start of doing it, which was basically to give a message to Catholics and kind of say, if I can recall right what this message was, and I'll leave a link to the video if you want to watch it. It's one of the more popular videos on this channel, but it has the just a message to Catholics to basically go out and live out their faith, and so that was my big message to Catholics, and so that is like upwards of 600 views at this point. So that's the first video on this YouTube channel. So that was the first video on this channel, and afterwards several other videos were released that were just on some Catholic topics. Most of those videos have since been deleted. Following that, the next content on there that's still up today is some videos from, actually I'm going to clip to it, so let me just cut now. So the first episode, as we see here, is the message to Catholics. Following that are these videos from the diocesan ordinations from 2024. Following that is a video of me playing the organ at my parish. That is the same organ that is in the first clip of every episode that shows me playing a mass there. And we'll talk about it later. The next one was a new focus for the channel, and that didn't, as you can see, that was just kind of a clip and not much came of it. But after that, we get to some more organ clips, and then finally, we get to the second episode of the Matthew Schreiner Podcast. The first episode of the Matthew Schreiner Podcast was originally only on Spotify, and so that's why it's not here on YouTube. And so that's an audio-only episode that is just on Spotify. That was kind of just an introduction. So where we begin kind of here on YouTube and on Spotify is with the second episode talking about, I can't remember what it was, but we're going to go through and look at least each of the titles and maybe just play a bit of each of the episodes. So the first episode of the Matthew Schreiner Podcast on YouTube is podcast episode number 2, Back to School. So let's just open this up and take a look at it. I apologize, the video didn't want to clip in when I recorded it on to the recorder as I usually do, so I apologize. It wasn't that interesting of an episode anyways. Of all the episodes I could have chosen, that probably wasn't the best one, and there's no other clips from other episodes, so I just discussed the rest of them onward. So that was just a bit of the first episode, which it was just about back to school time because that was released in August, and so that's when I started the podcast around that time. So the podcast is over a year old at this point since I started it in August of 2024. What's happening next? Talking about what would the podcast be about? Catholic vocations, because originally this was just going to be about vocations and stuff. I was going to interview people and everything, and that was kind of the idea. I might have even said that in the first episode on Spotify only. AI, that's one of the first videos I did on AI. This one's like one of the more popular ones at one point, but it's all about traditional Catholicism. I don't think it was that good if I recall well. Sacrament of Penance, about confession, your body is a temple. I think there was some discussion going on around that time, and so I wanted to bring up that idea. 4 more organ clips, so this isn't part of the podcast, this is just on the channel. Religious Service in Life, again, this was supposed to be about vocations. Altar serving, about vocations. Homecoming, because we had a teacher who said something, and so I brought that to the video. Examples, that one, fun fact, is actually, I think it says it in the description, it's based off of a homily given by now Archbishop Designate, Bishop Ronald Hicks, who's a bishop of our diocese, and so this is based off of a homily he gave, and I can't remember exactly what I said there, but I can kind of remember a little bit of the detail. Some recent saint memorials looking at the Ordo, the sacredness of marriage, talking about vocations. What does it mean to be a child of God? Seminarians, vocations, prayer, vocations. The power to avoid sin, that kind of goes back to confession. Holiness is within reach. I think these, I don't remember exactly what these happened, but I think I kind of remember. And you can tell I was reading a script for this one. National Vocations Awareness Week, again, vocations. These are the 2 most popular episodes on this channel. Where we had a auxiliary bishop ordained by the now Archbishop Designate of New York, who again is the Bishop of Joliet, ordain an auxiliary bishop for our diocese, and so these both take place in the diocese, and you can see people like Cardinal Supage, Archbishop Designate now Hicks, Cardinal Pierre, I can't remember his first name, but Cardinal Pierre, the nuncio, Christ the King, all about the end of the year feast. Rorate Caeli, that's another organ one. Advent and New Year are on the same time. Catholic Schools Week at the end of February. 145 subscriber special. Prayer again. Pope Francis in the hospital, that was a big thing at one point. Lent, what is discernment? Ignatius Study Bible unboxing, that's not a part of the podcast, but just when I did. Answering of Prayers, another episode about prayer. The Holiness of Family, another one talking about vocations. I don't remember exactly what was said in that one. Defending the Faith, about apologetics probably. Where God Calls Us, vocations again. God is Love. Yeah, this was one of the first scripted episodes, and the first ones that I had the podcast. I had the blog at the time. Be the Change. That one was because of the show. That one is actually one of my favorite episodes of this podcast that I ever made. Returning Home, Cafeteria Catholicism. I saw these photos of Pope Francis in cafeterias, and I'm like, oh, that's pretty funny. Traditional Deacon Ordination Procession, also with Archbishop Designate Hicks. In that one, A New Direction, just talking about, hey, at one point I said I was doing stuff on vocations. Now this is just general Catholicism. And so, Receiving God's Mercy, all about confession. Holy Week, that's when that was released, Holy Thursday, because all videos are released on Monday and Thursday. Pope Francis, Legacy of Hope following his passing. Easter, not just a day, but a season, probably about a homily we had on Easter. Divine Mercy, since that was the second week of Easter. May, the month of Mary. And so the first episode that you'll notice I did was this Be the Change episode. That was one of the second ones scripted, like fully. And then that was also, because most of these also have scripts on my blog at the time. And then this was one of the first episodes to have a thumbnail, and then that thumbnail, the new thumbnail design that I still use, was in A New Direction, and so that kind of has been continued to use, except I removed the text of Divine Mercy. May, the month of Mary. We had the new Pope. That was actually like the day of the Pope. I released that. Making a Change and Being the Difference, featuring some of Trent Horn's content and some other content I saw. That's one of my other favorite episodes because I tried something different and new. Practical Atheism, about Pope Leo's homily. The Washington State, that's another very popular episode that got released at one point because it was I noticed more of the videos that talk about, what do you call it? Uh, Tough topics or controversial topics. That's the word. They tend to be very popular. So Washington State law with the requiring priests to talk about confession, the importance of art, about one of Pope John Paul II, sorry, documents that Trent Horn mentions that in the Making a Change, Making a Difference, 10th anniversary of Laudato Si, because I was at this time, Catholic art, another look at that. Father James Martin. This was after a trip, and so I missed making a video, and so this one was kind of just a one-off. I saw this article, and I'm like, let's just talk about it. The effects of the Reformation. This is the only one that ever had AI a part of its writing. I was listening to EWTN this morning, and there was, like, some AI that the priest was, like, recommending you use. He was like, if you have doubts or questions, just use this AI and it can answer your questions. So that was quite interesting. I can't remember what it was called, but I was listening to EWTN this morning as I was driving home, and they were suddenly talking about this AI application. I didn't hear what it was called, but he was like, you can download it on Google Play or the App Store. And so Pride Mass is looking at an episode by Reason and Theology, Michael Lofton, Liturgical Abuse in Chicago, talking about Saint Sabinus in Chicago. This is another very popular one because, again, controversial topic. Pastor uses Mary as a justification for abortion, a clip from Instagram. Moral liturgical abuse in Chicago, looking at another mass in Chicago from a parish. New sex education guidelines in Germany. That was an article from the National Catholic Register. Mass for the Care of Creation, and Catholic Mass in Anglican Cathedral. Big things happening at one time. The Gen Z sex recession. This actually is very interesting. There was another video I saw about all the terrible things that have happened because of the sexual revolution. Catholic media. I think all the pictures on the front are pretty self-explanatory for what I'm trying to get at. You can see Scott Hahn, Joe Heschmeyer, Fulton Sheen, Mother Angelica, Trent Horn, and Bishop Aaron. To Love the Faith, all about the faith, modesty. After I saw, again, most of these videos have like an article at their basis, and that was something I saw recently on Facebook. Another episode on prayer. This is like the 4th episode on prayer. The Assumption, because that happened at the time. A Heart on Fire for God. This one's pretty good. A Case Against Judaism, looking at a interview between Matt Fradd and Ben Shapiro, which Matt Fradd is a part of the Daily Wire. Hardest Christian Teaching, The Narrow Path, The Virtue of Humility, with a quote from C.S. Lewis at the front. Do We Live in an Anti-Catholic World? This one was a rather interesting one. That one was quite fun to make. The Passing of Charlie Kirk, that's one of the more popular ones. And that happened at one point. And and again, this one was very popular because it was a controversial thing that happened at the time, and a lot of people were doing coverage on it. Carlo Acutis and Piero Giorgio, The Existence of God. I think this was after Trent Horn released a video on that. The Eucharist and Liturgy. I like this one. This one's actually really good. I think I did a very good job on this, which is episode 75. Anything That Happened Friday. I started that a while back. And so the first episode actually to have the modern layout of having an introductory music is The Assumption, not A Heart on Fire for God. The Assumption. The Assumption is the first episode to have music at the beginning with the introductory, and then the prayer is one of the... No, actually, To Love the Faith is one of the... To Love the Faith or Modesty is one of the first ones that had a whole bunch of... Sorry, Gen Z Sex Recession is one of the first ones that had all the clips in it in between. And then Prayer and The Assumption had that. The Assumption was the first one to have music at the beginning, which continued onto this video with a different song. And then this song is the first one to use the current music. This one was different. The Virtue of Humility uses a different English hymn. This one used a Latin hymn, French hymn, Latin hymn, English hymn. And then we went to the hymn that I use now. In this one, there was no hymn for this one. This one I released very quickly after, so I didn't have much time to edit it because I wasn't intending to do a video that day. Then this one uses the music, and then the first episode to use the current introduction might be this one. This one is all about, this is the Anything Can Happen Friday episode about Cardinal Cupid with one of the photos I took, and if you actually, Archbishop Designate Ronald Bishop Hicks is back there in that picture too. And then the next episode after that is all about the Mormon parish shooting or arson attack that happened, and I talked about how we live in a church that is very antithetical, how we live in a world, that is very antithetical to our conservative or Christian beliefs, if you will. Episode 77, Redeem Zoomer's Catholic Contradictions. That one's pretty good. These ones are very popular because obviously they talk about controversial issues. Being an on-fire Catholic, that's not a part of the podcast. That was just a video I did from a homily. The Brass Proof of the Catholic Church. These two videos are all about the Eucharist. New Anglican Archbishop of Canterbury. That's an interesting one. I don't think that one was the best, but Pope Leo and Immigration, that one's certainly not the best. Covenants and Oaths, that was from a homily where the priest talked about some linguistic things in the homily. Family in the Catholic Church, Morality and Psychology, looking at some interviews with Jordan Peterson. Virtue, looking at quotes from Benjamin Franklin. Humility, Jesus, and the parable of the tax collectors and Pharisees in the temple. All Souls, pretty self-explanatory. Care for the Poor, looking at the works of mercy. Case Against Vatican Catholic, also a very popular episode because they look at some controversial issues. We'll look at the videos in order of their popularity. Oh, Pope Leo and Immigration, and then Pope Leo and Illegal Immigration, two different videos. Anyways, Most Holy Family Monastery, then the dedication of the Lateran, and Veterans Day. These were recorded on the same day, but one was of the feast we just celebrated on a Sunday, and the other was during that week. Assisted suicide in Illinois, they actually passed that law. Pope Leo and Illegal Immigration, that one's not very good. Christ the King of Time, talking about Christ the King at that time that was. Thanksgiving, that one's an audio-only episode. Advent, also self-explanatory. Pope Leo and Artificial Intelligence, that was looking at a quote from him, or a video from him. St. Augustine, that was a pre-recorded one, some emergency clips I have. Startling Statistics on the Priesthood. The Love and Saints in Love. And then finally, episode 99, just released on last Thursday, which is all about Verate Caeli. The most popular ones, as I said, are the Procession and Recession from that Bishop Ordination, Message to Catholics, Most Holy Family Monastery, Liturgical Beast in Chicago, Deacon Ordination, Recession, Oh God Beyond All Praising, Why Don't Jews Convert, Passing of Charlie Kirk, Ignatius Study Bible, Antithetical World, Redeem Zoomer, Jubilee Hymn, Moral Liturgical Beast in Chicago, Veni Creator Spiritus from the Ordination, and Washington State, and then so on and so forth. I'm not going to go through all the way down the list, so that's just a quick look at the videos. I looked at each of the videos kind of in depth, and I mentioned some of my favorite episodes, and the ones that I can recall off the top of my head are the Be the Change episode, the one that follows that episode with the presentation with Trent Horn, and a video from a priest I know, and some other clips mixed in there. And so those are two of my favorite episodes, and I showed throughout how there's been kind of this ongoing change in videos and the video style, with clips into it and with music and stuff at the beginning, and so things have kind of changed and grown, and so I've learned a lot from my experience making each of these videos that have come along and ongoing. And so as of current, the videos kind of have a similar format, and I've been very good at sticking to it. They begin with an introduction music, and I kind of got that from videos by Brian Holsworth. And so Brian Holsworth includes music at the beginning of all of his episodes, and he uses the same song for almost all of them. And so I have included the same song for at least the last couple of videos I've from, as long as I mentioned it when I was looking through it. I can't remember off the top of my head. But ever since that video, I've been using the same music. I've had the same picture on it, and eventually that will change. I had an idea in mind to change it to a video, to a picture from more recently, but we'll see if and when that happens. But anyways, I just wanted to mention that. So as we go on, there will be more videos, and I kind of, as I mentioned in the episode of A New Direction, the direction of this channel has gone from kind of looking at locations and stuff like that, because I don't think there's enough to talk about there, and I certainly don't think I'm the right one to talk about, at least now. But I know what I need to talk to and what I can talk about forever, and what I intend to talk about forever is about issues and other things facing the church. And so to do apologetics and stuff like that, and also to discuss a lot of things that happen, like feast days, when feast days occur, or other things like that, like All Saints, All Souls, and other things that go on. And so the next episode, because it's going to be released on Christmas, is going to be about Christmas. And already there are videos from Joe Heschmeyer and Father Leo and Brian Holdsworth, all discussing Christmas. And you can check out Joe Heschmeyer's episode, which I think is pretty good, and I think I'm going to draw upon his episode, and also a little from Brian Holdsworth's episode. Both of them have a very good look at that. And so, kind of my channel, if you can imagine, I draw a lot of inspiration from things like Trent Horton. I mentioned that because Trent Horton is one of the first Catholic apologists who I really got to see on YouTube, and so he kind of is where I learned the trade from. And then Joe Heschmeyer and Brian Holdsworth are two others that I greatly enjoy. And I've also mentioned several times on this channel Father Leo. Father Leo offers some great advice on issues facing the church, as he likes to say, in a pastoral way. So, but ongoing on this channel will be pretty much to discuss issues and topics that are ongoing. And so this episode, we've made it to 100, and I hope to make it to 100 more, and 200 more, and 400 more after that, and as many as I am able and possible to make, God willing. So that's it for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. God bless, and I will see you next. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing. Doing so helps us to spread this Catholic and Christian message to all. Please also consider supporting this channel on Patreon. Enjoyed watching this episode. I kind of enjoyed making this one. I did get to look at everything I wanted to, and there's a whole lot more that can and should and will be said. But I just hope they will allow this channel to keep growing. So there's a whole lot that I hope to continue to do, a whole lot of topics that I want to discuss, and as time goes on, I hope to be able to. And so I think I've just scratched the surface of a lot of the issues that we can talk about, a lot of the things that face the modern church, and I want to discuss those issues. More than that, I want to help make non-Catholics Catholic and Catholics more Catholic. And so that's kind of my goal here, is to give a balanced and good look at the faith. Not a side that is distorted, but the true and the true faith of the church, the truth. And we as Catholics believe that we possess the truth. That, like, you might have a scientist or a doctor or even someone who's a teacher, or just someone who studies well, who, claims to have all the knowledge in one field. The church claims to have the truth of salvation and the truth of the world. Now, that's not to say that we have the truth of science, because we as a church don't claim to study science. Now, we have many members of our church, such as Gregor Mendel, who was a monk who's the father of genetics, the founder of modern genetics. And he was a Catholic monk, and so the church has certainly helped to study in science. The Big Bang Theory was founded by a Catholic priest, not founded, but I'm not going to say created, but kind of discovered, if you will, by a Catholic priest. So science as we know it would not be, as it were, without the church, because members of the church have always tried to kind of explore the world around us and study from previous civilizations. We have continued to kind of keep records of the ancient civilizations, if you will. So my point being in this all, and I kind of got a little off the rails there, is we as a church claim to have the truth. And I mentioned this in my episode on the Eucharist. We have some kind of wacky beliefs of the Eucharist, and if they prove to be true, then the church is true, could be true about a lot of other things. So I just hope to present to, if you're a Catholic, or if you are not, if you're Protestant, Jewish, Muslim, atheist, I hope to present you a good case for Catholicism, and if not, I can lead you to people who will have a good case for Catholicism. Otherwise, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I wanted to include a little more Easter eggs, but there's at least one Easter egg included in this episode, and I have linked in this some of the videos I have made, and so I hope you enjoyed this. God bless, and I'll see you next time. I wanted to include at least at the end, the bishop of my diocese, as I mentioned, is now the Archbishop Designate of New York, so I just wanted to mention it here. So I wanted you to ask to please pray for him as he faces this new assignment. God bless.